Welcome to Cornwall Seal Group Research Trust's virtual conference, Sharing Our Seas, Seals and People. We are excited to share an inspirational series of talks exploring a variety of aspects of seal conservation in the UK. And it's our 20th birthday. In that time, we've done 35,000 plus surveys, processed over 1 million photos for 72,000 plus seal IDs. To make sure we can continue this important work, check out our website to join our Wild Seal Supporter Scheme, back our crowdfunding campaign, or shop in our online store. Thank you for your support.
Good day. My name is Bernie McConnell. I'm the Deputy Director of the Sea Mammal Research Unit at the University of St Andrews in Scotland. First of all, thank you very much for the invitation to give a talk here. And I'm going to talk about, quote, current developments in seal monitoring techniques. That covers a really wide range of things. Yet, you will see there is only my name at the bottom and my email. So what I'm doing is I am representing the work of many, many people, and in the hope that we will be able to foster communications between our different groups. Initially, use me as the conduit. I'm the messenger, in the hope that in the future we will work more closely together. You will learn from us, and we will learn from you. Now, this is hopefully one of the positive things that might come out of this coronavirus problem that we're in just now, is that we might be using remote conferencing systems more in the future, and this might help us communicate better. So let's move on. There's three areas I'd like to deal with. One is how we carry out aerial surveys to estimate population sizes, how we use computer-aided photo identification. Both of these two will be fairly brief. I'm representing other people's slides, talks, expertise, etc. I'll do my best. And finally, where I feel a lot more comfortable, the use of various tagging techniques, phone or satellite tagging techniques, to tell us about seals and their movements. But the main thing I would like to do is to say happy birthday from Rutherglen, Scotland just now, and see what happens. So, aerial surveys. I should also add that this approach that I'm going to be talking about will be mainly technological rather than talking about the biological outputs of these surveys. But there's two species, I'm sure you'll know, which are mandated, I'll come back onto that in a second, to provide information on. One is the harbour seal, and in the UK we've got about 5% of the world population. And in the lower graph you'll see grey seals, and we're actually custodians of about a third of the world population of grey seals. Why survey? Which brings us back to sort of the raison d'etre for SMRU. We're a group of only about 6 or so core people, at least the centre of us, the core people, funded by the Natural Environment Research Council and other funding agencies as well. And we are obliged by the Conservation of Seals Act to report once a year on the status of seals in the UK. That is a very big task because government asks many questions of us, so we are rather thinly spread. But this is one of the outputs, a special committee on seals. Of course, the information that we provide, and I should say it's not just on the seal surveys, it's on aspects of seal biology, are also used by various other holders such as Scottish Natural Heritage and Natural England, EU, seal licensing authorities, so we can estimate potential biological take. The information that we provide is also used by marine renewable industries. And the legislation under which we do this in Scotland, it's the Marine Scotland Act, and in the rest of the UK, it is the Conservation of Seals Act of 1970. So that's a sort of legislative framework in which we exist. Harbour seals. Harbour seals, their populations are assessed by counting the number of animals that are present during their annual molt. That's round about July, once a year. The animals lose their fur, and they spend more time out of the water and thus amenable to being counted. We would then adjust this count by the portion of time, the average portion of time that seals will spend hauled out at this time of year, and that gives us the population count. It is carried out by this machine, a helicopter, and the important thing is what's at the bottom of it, this pod, which is basically an infrared camera, digital still camera, and a high-definition video link, as well as a laser rangefinder. Now you might wonder why such fancy and expensive stuff is needed to count seals. Hopefully this will give you the reason. I think this is the barrel of butter in Orkney, but I'm not sure. But to my eyes, I find it difficult to see any seals there at all. If I click the button and look at the thermal image, all of a sudden they became visible and are thus counted. There may be some grey seals there as well, which is the reason that there's a concurrent conventional video is taken, so they can then distinguish any rogue grey seals getting there and upsetting our count of harbour seals. As you can tell, it's an expensive business, therefore this is not done annually. It's generally done on a 5-year rotating basis in Scotland, and we're also asked by Ireland to carry out surveys as well in the Wash and in the Thames and the East Coast, where the seals are hauled out on sandbanks. Fixed wing surveys are carried out. Although I said I wasn't going to go into biology too much just now, one of the interesting things we've discovered since 1995 up till now is the rapid decrease in the number of harbour seals in this area up here, north coast in Orkney, and also, I'm speaking from here, Crail, a little fishing village near St Andrews, and offshore from us, there's been a very severe reduction by 70 or 80% in the last 10 years. The reasons for that, I would love to go into. There isn't really a lot of time now, but it's possibly related to competition with grey seals. It may be related to shortage of, I don't think shortage of food, but it might be harmful algal blooms may be affecting the population. It could also be an increase in predation from killer whales. Grey seals, on the other hand, are estimated by counting the white-coated pups that you can see just now in this photograph. As you will be aware, they generally come ashore or in caves. They breed, and over the next 2 or 3 weeks, the mum feeds them, and then they will disperse. And this is the time, at the breeding time, when most of the seals that we count in the UK are assessed. Again, this is a wide area. Let's go to Scotland first. Scotland first is because the bulk of the grey seals actually are in Scotland. And as I said before, we are a small unit. Our funding's been significantly reduced in the past few years, and we have to concentrate on those areas where there are the largest number of animals. The Scottish area here is generally surveyed biennially. Other places, and Wales and Cornwall, is assessed by cave counting, boat surveys, etc. But we're concentrating just now on the aerial survey in Scotland. This is our best estimate of where seals are born. So you can see why we are concentrating on Scotland. And the method is by using a plane with 2 powerful digital cameras on a rocking system. We aim to cover 3, 4 or 5 times over the breeding season the white-coated pups, and they are counted. Here we see flying over an island and the various snapshots being taken. These are then corrected in Photoshop, and we will see something like this, which is a mixture of adults and pups. These are counted. They're assessed into which age class the pups are, and this is done repeatedly 3 or 4 times throughout the breeding season in October to December. So we end up with time series of seal production for each island or set of islands. We have to work out from that what we think the total seal production was from these snapshots over the season. Then we have to work out from, once we've got these pup production figures, we have a time series of these pup production figures over the last 20 or 30 years. And then these data are fed into a Bayesian state space model, where basically we ask the model, like, what's the best model to account for this trend in terms of the survivorship of animals, their fecundity, whether it's density dependence, carrying capacity, sex ratio, etc., etc. And we come up with estimates of the total of the pup production, and from then we can predict into the future. I'm not going to do that just now. The one thing I wanted to say, though, was looking at the North Sea from 1985 to 2015, we can see the North Sea is still exponentially increasing in grey seal numbers, mainly due to the southern part of the North Sea is contributing to that. Other large major areas such as Inner Hebrides, Outer Hebrides and Orkney look to be reaching some sort of plateau or carrying capacity. Now, I'm moving swiftly on now to image matching systems and the identification of seals. Now here I am right out of my comfort zone, and I would urge you through me to contact Izzy Langley and Monica or Lex or Paddy Pomeroy at the Sea Mammal Research Unit. Lex doesn't work at SMRU, but he is in some ways the founder of this system. I can go briefly through this on behalf of this group, and why do it? One of the applications is why you do photo ID is to estimate population size. Another one is the survival product probability. Now this is on fecundity. This is one that is I have some concern with. Monica alluded before the fact that harbour seals are in decline in Orkney and Shetland, and so there is a photo ID long term over 4, 5, 6, 7 years, a survey being carried out up in Orkney, so we can actually assess the survival, the probability and the fecundity of these animals to try to get a better handle on why they are actually decreasing in numbers, and this is work in hand. Also, and I'm sure you will know more about this than I do, another application of this is the site fidelity. Here, this is primarily from the work of Izzy. I can say that there's two stages in the photo ID matching. So first of all, they extract and compare, and then using wild ID. Extract and compare, Lex Hebe, who started this work up with my colleague Phil Lovell, who still works with us in the 1990s. Started off the system, and it's basically a way of transforming a two-dimensional picture onto a three-dimensional wireframe of an animal. The actual matching is then done by wild ID, and as I say, I don't use the system at all, so I would refer you very much to Izzy and the team, and I would hope that if we compared notes, we would both learn from each other. Now, I'm a lot closer to my comfort zone here, and I will urge against comfort zones just in a couple of minutes. But now I'm in my comfort zone tagging. As well as working in this, being Deputy Director of the Sea Mammal Research Unit, I also head up a group called the Sea Mammal Research Unit Instrumentation Group. It's a group of 10 people, and we design and build and also utilise, or SMRU utilises, a variety of tags for seals. So we can track them, and we can look at their behaviour, and we can look at the ocean environment in which they live. So we're not a separate company. We are a research group. Oh, you can see one of our customers here, grey seal. One of the points I wanted to make is I can describe the technology in a second, but all the technology in the world is pointless unless we have the field skills to actually capture animals in a way that doesn't stress them, and the tags are glued to the fur, they will fall off when the animals molt, and all this is highly prescribed under the Animal Procedures Act, and we have a license to do this. So I want to basically acknowledge the field skills of the various teams in catching seals and the animal welfare or the handling of them. It's not just technology. I want to go straight in at the deep end, and a good friend of mine, Cécile Vincent from France, has published this paper a couple of years back summarising the tracks over the years from Brittany. Down here, animals that are tracked in Brittany. These are just grey seals, and also the Baie de Somme here. One of the interesting things that grey seals, as opposed to harbour seals, which we also worked on here, these guys move around. Now, we could spend a long time on this slide, and I'd love to spend a long time on this slide, but I'm not going to. I'm going to go straight in just to the zoom in, and we can see that the southwest of England is, in fact, intimately connected with seals in Brittany and Ireland, and I'm going to go back one for a second. It may be seals that you see in Cornwall could have spent the previous week foraging off the continental edge and 200-300 metres to the west of Scotland. There's a lot to be gained. There's a lot of information here. Again, just in 15 minutes, that doesn't adequately do justice to the interesting stories that can come out of this. The lighter blue tracks you may be able to see there actually represent the initial phase. Now we're getting onto the technology of the tags. which used the Argos satellite system. We more recently, and certainly in the past 10 years, information that's collected by our tags is where we have animals that frequently come ashore or don't spend the whole of their time in the middle of the Atlantic or Antarctic Ocean. We include a mobile phone modem in the tag rather than a satellite modem, and the information is phoned ashore, and we also get GPS quality locations. So there's been a major, and as I say, one advert here is that it was in the early 1980s we put on the first ever satellite tag anybody ever put on a seal anywhere in the world. It was up in Donanook in England. In terms of technology, we're in a really exciting place just now. And there's three aspects that I'll deal with here. First of all, sensors. The tracks that you saw just now were just the tip of the iceberg. What I didn't show you were the detailed dives going on when the animals haul out, etc. Where we think they're foraging in terms of very restricted search, their movement patterns. But also we and other people, that's not just in the instrumentation group, can attach sound sensors, and then we can look at the noise that the animals experience. That is whether there's disturbance due to shipping or disturbance due to piling from wind farms, etc. We can actually use, colleagues of mine can actually use active sound, that's produced sound on board the tags and ultrasonic, to detect prey fields. That is actually use them as echo sounders, and the tags as echo sounders to detect prey. We can use active infrared to actually harmlessly shine through the skull of the animal to actually see which bits of the brain are working as an animal dives, as it rests, etc. There's all sorts of fascinating things. But we can also have sensors such as conductivity and temperature sensors on board these tags, which will tell us something about the seas in which the animals are swimming. And here this information allows us to say, well, why are the animals feeding in this place and going there? Is there a frontal system? Is there something specific about the water quality here? And we can also ask questions about, or we can also provide information to the oceanographic community, and this information can be added to the ocean models. And currently there are grey seals which have been feeding information to the Met Office that help whose dives and the temperature of the water, the structure of the temperature profiles of where they dive has contributed to telling us the weather. Onboard data processing by looking at the types of the dives. Sometimes animals will drift, and they'll drift at different rates without any flipping or without any active propulsion. And the rate at which they either sink or they float to the surface in these quiet times can tell us something about their buoyancy, which is affected by the amount of blubber they have, which is in essence a measure of their condition. So by doing some onboard data processing, we can actually tell, as months go past, has an animal succeeded in putting on or gaining the amount of fat and blubber stores it needs to raise a pup. And I will also add finally communication systems. IoT, Internet of Things. Let me go to what is almost the last slide. Here's a view of the future. It's the Global Ocean Observing System. And what this is an image of the future, but it includes current technology as well as the future. And this picture illustrates all the various ways in which we can get information from the sea. We have satellites at the top, we have ships, we have somewhere down at the bottom we have tethered instruments sitting on the seabed, we have underwater vehicles with cameras. We have seals underwater as well, which can detect prey fields if they're instrumented. And the point I'm making here is that our contribution in terms of seal telemetry, information that the seals are providing, feeds into a much bigger picture. So not only must we develop in our own, perhaps little silos, our own boxes, technological developments, we must think about how we integrate this outside of our comfort areas. Now we're going back to comfort areas as well. And there's all sorts of comfort areas. There's a geographical comfort area. My one is... Right, I live in Scotland, so it's Scotland-centric, it's UK-centric, it's maybe European-centric, etc., etc. We must get out of our geographic boxes, but also the discipline boxes as well, because what I've been showing you up to now is not just biology, but it's computer science and physics and engineering for the tags, etc., a lot of statistical modelling as well. So we have to go out of our original comfort area and embrace other disciplines. And I think maybe For me, the most important thing to emphasise is we must get out of our taxonomic discipline, our taxonomic box. And that is, I think, the future of our understanding of the seals must include knowing more about what where the prey fields are, where the fish are. And this is not necessarily the commercial fish, but it could be the nearshore fish that the animals require to feed. So, technological developments must include more efficient ways of assessing what you might call forage fish populations in the vicinity of where seals feed. I tried to cover maybe far too many things. All I really want to achieve is to make a connection with Cornish Seal Group, say happy birthday to you, and open up channels of communication where hopefully we can work more closely in the future. And that's all I really have to say just now. Thank you very much for the invitation, and best wishes from Scotland. Slán Siobhan.